But don't worry, Joe Biden's agenda for this Pride Month, it goes even further. Again, laser focused on the things that matter to American families, like whether we can cut the healthy breasts off your 15-year-old girl. Quote, addressing conversion therapy. As a candidate, President Biden pledged to help end so-called conversion therapy, a discredited and dangerous practice that seeks to suppress or change the sexual orientation or gender identity of LGBTQI plus people. Okay, so first of all, when you think conversion therapy, this is what the left loves to do. They like to take terms that actually have a meaning, and then they broaden that meaning to include a bunch of things that are not the original term, and then they try to go after it. Okay, so conversion therapy originally meant, and this is what you're thinking of when I say the words conversion therapy, somebody strapping electrodes to kids who might be gay, and then trying to essentially create a Pavlovian response that is anti-gay. Right? That is what, when people think conversion therapy, that's what they think. They think electroshock that is being applied to gay kids. That is not what this administration is talking about. They're talking about a kid comes in and is sexually confused, and the pastor or the psychologist or the psychiatrist talks to them about that without saying, clearly you're gay and we should just celebrate. Or, clearly you're a member of the opposite gender. Yeah, like that one is totally insane. So if a child comes in and says, I'm a member of the opposite gender, and the therapist says, you know what? You clearly have a biological sex. Let's talk about why you're feeling misaligned. And maybe we'll wait. Maybe we'll see if maybe these feelings persist. Or maybe we'll talk about what you can do to live comfortably inside your own body without, lopping off body parts, reconstructing genitals that don't properly function, and pumping you full of hormones that may shorten your lifespan and or give you osteoporosis. If you do that, if you say that as a psychologist, Joe Biden says that you are now engaging in conversion therapy. Today, according to the White House, President Biden is using his executive authority to launch an initiative to protect children across America. It protects kids to prevent them from getting the medical care that they seek and that their parents seek, and crack down on this harmful practice, which every major medical association in the United States has condemned. Well, actually, that's not true. Many medical associations have condemned, traditional conversion therapy because it's bad and ineffective and immoral, but that is not the kind of conversion therapy that you are talking about. Again, you've broadened out the term. Children who are exposed to so-called conversion therapy face higher rates of attempted suicide and trauma. Again, the data that he is attempting to cite here, no footnotes, I've noticed. Numerous states across the country have already passed bipartisan laws to prevent exposure to so-called conversion therapy, with Republican and Democratic governors signing state bans on conversion therapy into law. Yet despite these efforts, many people in the United States and around the world are still subjected to this practice. Again, bans have been signed with regard to, electrifying kids. However, bans typically are a bad idea when you're talking about a kid questioning their sexual orientation or gender identity and someone talking to them about it without immediately affirming everything that the kid believes. President Biden is now charging HHS with leading an initiative to reduce the risk of youth exposure to this dangerous practice. HHS will explore guidance to clarify that federally funded programs cannot offer so-called conversion therapy. Well, first of all, were federally funded programs regularly offering traditional electrode to genitals conversion therapy that I missed? President Biden is also encouraging the FTC to consider whether the practice constitutes an unfair or deceptive act or practice, and whether to issue consumer warnings or notices. He's directing the secretaries of state, Treasury, and HHS to develop an action plan to promote an end to so-called conversion therapy around the world and ensure that U.S. foreign assistance dollars do not fund the practice. So yes to funding abortion all over the world. No to funding psychologists overseas who are dealing with kids who are gender confused without immediately declaring they're a member of the opposite gender and it's time to chop off a dick. Really, really strong stuff here from the Biden administration. Standing up for the things that matter for not only children here, but children around the world. And sort of NatCon, the nationalist conservative critique of the liberal governance of the United States, is that that basically it used to be that when America would drop a bomb on a foreign nation and have an American flag on it. Now what the left has basically done is if they stick a gay pride flag on the bomb, they'll drop the same bomb, but declare it virtuous. And hard to see where the meme is particularly wrong when it comes to Joe Biden at this point. So what else is he doing? Because of discrimination and bullying, nearly half of LGBTQI plus youth seriously considered suicide last year. Again, a lie. Okay, the idea that the high suicidal ideation rate among kids of alternative sexual identity and gender ideology, that this suicide rate is driven primarily by bullying and discrimination, it's a lie. The data do not back this up. In the most tolerant areas of the country, where, by the way, the rates of identification in this broader rubric are now extraordinarily high, right? They are centralized in very specific locations with very specific ideologies. The suicidal ideation rates remain incredibly high because, as it turns out, certain types of identification and certain types of activity are highly associated with suicidal ideation, regardless as to whether mom and dad give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. LGBTQI plus people of all ages, says the Biden administration, also face significant barriers to accessing healthcare and health disparities. To safeguard access to healthcare for LGBTQ plus I minus patients and address the LGBTQI plus youth mental health crisis, President Biden is charging HHS with taking steps to address the barriers and exclusionary policies that individuals and families face in accessing quality, affordable, comprehensive healthcare, including mental healthcare, reproductive healthcare, and HIV prevention and treatment. The president's order charges HHS to work with states to promote expanded access to gender-affirming care. That's right. Now the federal government is going to be subsidizing your states to give your kids a bunch of cross-sex hormones. Are you excited? Joe Biden is. I mean, let's be real. He's not really excited about this. He doesn't know what's going on. He's got a bunch of idiot interns from Wellesley who have figured out how to militarize the American government on behalf of their radical gender ideology, and he's asleep in the back room after eating a bowl of cream of wheat. That's what's actually going on here. You think Joe Biden is sitting here writing these policies? He ain't. He doesn't even know what's going on. It also charges HHS to help prevent LGBTQ plus I suicide by expanding youth access to suicide prevention resources. Well, you know, one of the reasons why perhaps we have higher suicidal ideation rates across young people in the United States is the promotion of this ideology. Maybe that is one of the reasons why it's very weird as the ID of LGBTQ plus rises in society. Look at that suicidal ideation rate. It's going up. Wow, that's amazing. So you would imagine that it was going down because as more people come out and as tolerance advances, you would expect the suicidal ideation rate to come down in kind. Wrong. It turns out that they are both rising in tandem, which suggests an association, does it not? But don't worry, Joe Biden has even more. He says that children and families from LGBTQI plus groups deserve the same dignity and respect as all American families, but they continue to face significant barriers and discrimination. Ron DeSantis. For LGBTQI plus young people, family rejection can lead to disproportionately rates of homelessness and overrepresentation in foster care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on. He's doing more about making sure that your kids are a member of a sexual minority than he is making sure that you are not paying $5 for gasoline. That is for sure. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.